So representatives from nearly 200 countries are in Brazil for COP30, the planet's largest climate conference. California governor and potential 2028 Democratic presidential candidate Gavin Newsom says he is filling the void there left by high-level U.S. officials who are skipping the summit. The effort to get richer nations to honor commitments are a big topic at this year's conference. A UN report says developing countries will need more than $300 billion annually by 2035 to adapt to climate impacts. Lord Nicholas Stern joins us now from Belém, Brazil. He's the author of The Growth Story of the 21st Century, the Economics and Opportunity of Climate Action. I've been told that we can call you Nick, and Nick, thank you for joining us. I do want to get to that issue of opportunity. In your book, you put forward your conviction that growth and development can really go hand in hand with climate mitigation, not just climate adaptation. I think many are wondering how that's possible, because I don't have to tell you, many are cynical about the prospect right now. And many are wondering, what is it? Is AI going to save this thing in the end?
Thank you very much, Paula, and greetings from Belém and COP30. Let me try to describe how this works. If you look at energy, and particularly power, the clean is cheaper than the dirty in most countries of the world. And that explains why last year, over 90% of investment in power, that's electricity, was in renewables. So that's one. The second is a lot of these new technologies have got increasing returns to scale, so that if we expand the activity, we really drive down the cost. The Indians drove the LED light bulb cost down by a factor of 4 or so in a year or so, just by going to scale. If you think of efficiency, energy efficiency, but efficiency more generally, increasing efficiency increases productivity, increases growth. If you think of the way our cities work, cities where you can move and breathe are much more productive than cities where you have real difficulty doing both. If you look at health, taking that story a little bit further, take my own country, the UK. We kill from air pollution in the UK about 35,000 a year. We kill from car accidents about 1,700, 1/20th of the deaths from air pollution. And of course, it's not just the deaths from air pollution, it's the maiming of children and adults and old people. And of course, we have to invest more to make all this happen. So all these things are real drivers of growth. In addition, of course, if you're running into wildfires, if you're running into floods, if you're trying to deal with Hurricane Melissa, clearly adapting is going to protect your growth. So all sorts of reasons, Paula, why these actions on climate, whether it's reducing emissions or adapting, they drive growth.
I think, though, at the local level, some do not feel that that investment has been made soon enough. And you've listed some of them. They are too numerous to list. But if we go through a few, the recent hurricane in Jamaica was the strongest the country had ever seen, one of the strongest, in fact, in the Caribbean. The Los Angeles fires earlier this year apparently were made worse by what scientists say is climate change. And I do want to point out also the forest fires in Canada, which I've seen up close for myself. In 2023, the boreal forest in Canada suffered a record-breaking loss. And then we come back to the summit, and the summit that you are at right now, and the kind of arguments that you're putting forward. I think some would ask, are we getting closer to that adaptation or further? You speak as well in your book about a tipping point, and you have actually spoken about the tipping point for years.
Yep. I try to describe those things which are happening and which we can do, but you're absolutely right, Paula. We are not moving fast enough. We really have to accelerate. And without getting too technical, these tipping points are about, for example, the thawing of the permafrost, which would release methane, which would really accelerate this process of climate change and global warming. You're talking about land-based ice sheets in the Arctic and the Antarctic sliding off into the ocean and very quickly raising the sea level. If you remember Archimedes' principle from your high school physics, if you get in the bath, then the level of the bath goes up. And that's what we're talking about with land-based ice sliding off into the ocean. Here we are in Belém, in the Amazon, in Brazil, where this COP is taking place. We don't know how close we are to the collapse of the Amazon system. We may be pretty close. And if we don't act quickly and really stop deforestation and start afforestation, if that Amazon system collapses, that releases tremendous amount of
And
carbon
yet,
dioxide. It disrupts it so much. So these are the tipping points, and that's why we have to act so quickly.
but you've been articulating those tipping points for some time, and yet some people feel as if the situation might be hopeless at this point in time. I do want you to hear Bill Gates from a couple of weeks ago speaking to CNBC, and how I would say his philosophy on climate and how you deal with it has changed. Listen.
Climate is a super important problem. There's enough innovation here to avoid super bad outcomes. We won't achieve our best goal, the 1.5 or even the 2 degrees. And as we go about trying to minimize that, we have to frame it in terms of overall human welfare, not just everything should be solely for climate.
You know, there seems to be an evolution in climate philosophy. What do you think about his comments, and what's being said there at the summit?
Look, Bill Gates is a great guy, and through his philanthropy, he's done a lot for development and he's done a lot for climate action. But I think he's got this one wrong, Paula, and let me tell you why. He's talking about going way beyond 2 degrees centigrade in the quote that you just gave. And I just described the dangers of those tipping points. So the difference here is not that environment is more important than reducing poverty. It's not that environment is more important than educating young people, particularly girls. All those things are important. But if we do not pay attention to the environment, within 20 years or so, we'll be in a situation where some of those tipping points are likely to be passed, and the climate is becoming so hostile that the lives of these young children and their futures will be deeply undermined. So what we've got here is the science telling us that there's some things we have to act on now. Otherwise, climate, of course, biodiversity, otherwise we undermine all the other things that we care about, Bill cares about, I care about.
And we will see what COP30 can do about getting to more of that action that you say is needed. Nick Stern, for us, really grateful to you. Thanks so much.